44-41, Texas Tech moved to 4-1 on the season, 2-0 in the Big 12 with I'll say it, a nice victory over Cincinnati. Both teams came into this game 3-1 overall and 1-0 in the Big 12. So this is the type of game we've seen from Texas Tech, definitely in the last decade. But I mean, you could probably say for most of the program's history, where 3-1, 1-0, good start. You're going against another good team. 3-1, 1-0 in Big 3-1 and 1-0 in the Big 12. So it was a situation where Texas Tech had an opportunity, a night game at the Jones. It was on ESPN2. So I mean, pretty good audience there. And normally Texas Tech loses that game. They find a way to lose. Bottom line is Texas Tech won, and it wasn't always pretty, especially on defense. But Joe McGuire said it best in the post-game press conference. He said, 44-41, or if we win by 21, I don't care. Just find ways to win ball games. And right now they're doing that. I mean, if you look at this team, the way they're playing, the fact that they're winning, they've won 3 straight, and the 2-0 start in Big 12, you look at it compared to like what we thought after the ACU game, what we thought of this team after that Washington State loss, which, let's face it, isn't as bad as what we originally thought coming out of that game in Washington State. I don't know what they did today. I don't. But I know obviously they beat UW and they're off to a good start. But, Tech is 4-1, 2-0 in the Big 12. And that, after seeing that team the first 2 weeks, I was like, there's no way. We were saying, is Tech going to win another game and stuff like that? They won. And you're almost halfway through the season, and, they're on pace to have to here's where I'm at. And I'm going to go into it. I'm going to answer your questions, but I want to make a couple statements. First, the team's gotten better, obviously, throughout the season. Every year under Joey McGuire, we've seen like November's been the best month. The team's gotten better as the season's gone on. And what I love the most is that the coaching staff and this team has adapted in the season. And I think one of my biggest frustrations as a journalist, or just a fan in general, just a fan of sports my whole life, is when I've seen either coaches especially or players just say, this is what we do and this is how we're going to do it and we don't care. No, you got to be able to adapt in whatever you're doing, whether it be Joey McGuire changing his analytical approach to going forward on 4th down, where he's not doing that as much, just adapting to his personnel. Tim DeRuyter, the defensive coordinator. Now, don't get me wrong, they struggled a lot against Cincinnati tonight, but adapting in terms of not being as diversified, not being as complicated for his young defense, and kind of adapting to what and getting to know his personnel a little better in game this season and calling those plays. Or Zach Kittley, man, finally, and doing a great job of establishing an offensive identity by saying, look, we're going to run Tajeh Brooks. In those wins against ACU, against North Texas, Arizona State, and then tonight against Cincinnati, they start off running the ball with Taj. I mean, I think they had 2 runs for 20 yards and like 4 runs for like 30 yards to start the game. And Cincinnati was like, whoa, okay. And so they started overloading, blitzing to try and stop Taj, who, oh, by the way, carried the ball 32 times tonight for like 172 yards and 2 scores. He was amazing tonight. He was great. But and then Texas Tech hit those big plays off play action and RPO. And Baron Morton did a great job, man. And those receivers, they had some drops, but this is clearly an upgraded receiver room. So my point is, this team has adapted to this coaching staff has adapted to its personnel, to its team, and it's got them off to a 4-1 start and 2-0 start in the Big 12. And I think I have no problem calling out coaches when they're not doing well or when a team's not doing well. I don't enjoy it, but I'll tell the truth as I see it. What I'm seeing right now is a good job from this coaching staff and this team, and the record reflects that. All right, so let's jump into y'all's comments and questions. Dean Contreras says, are we good or are we just not bad? Well, I mean, I think that's a reasonable question. What they are is 4-1. And they've played 3 I guess you can't don't know if you count Washington State as a Power 4 team. I think they're a Power 4 level team, and they're 2-1 in those games. You've beaten 2 Big 12 opponents. My question is, can you win on the road? I think that's a reasonable question. Can Texas Tech win on the road? And they have a challenge coming up at Arizona next week. You've shown you could win at home. I think you've shown. I think if we take a step back from the emotion of following Texas Tech, from your fandom, and just look at Texas Tech's offense objectively, I think you'd say they're really tough to cover because they got one of the best running backs in the country, and then they have a really good receiving core off of that and tight end room and all that. Off play action and RPO. So it's very tough to defend all at Texas Tech. And then defensively, I mean, one thing I will say is they have forced turnovers. I mean, Ben Roberts, we're going to talk about that later, probably. I hope somebody asks me about Ben Roberts, but what an amazing game by him tonight. Like 12 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, a sack, a forced fumble, and he got the quarterback hurry that led to the pick 6 by A.J. McCarty, which was a great play. So at least Texas Tech is creating turnovers. They're doing enough to win so far at home. So is Texas Tech good? I'd say they are a couple of players away on defense, on the defensive line in the secondary, and then they're probably an offensive lineman or 2 away from being like, man, this is a pretty good team, because they have some good players, for sure. Like they have some talent, especially on offense, but some guys on defense as well. Kim Coulter says the W's a W. We move on. Yeah, absolutely. And McGuire was already talking about Arizona, like in the first 2 minutes of the postgame press conference. Jerry Hill 765 says next week will be tough. I hope they are ready. Yeah, I am too. And I think, I mean, it's tough to play on the road for anybody. I mean, let's face it. But the record is what it is. Just like I give credit for McGuire, his team's doing well in November. We have to say, I mean, Texas Tech has struggled on the road under Joey McGuire. And so can they take another step this season and then with the program overall and beat Arizona tomorrow or next week? And it's a 10 p.m. Central Time kickoff. So that's weird. That's going to be even like this thing's going to be later than that next week. Sean Gonzalez says, scared, do you think what's going to happen when Brooks leaves? Well, I already miss him. Like I was already saying like, oh man, I'm going to miss him tonight in the press box. Not going to lie, but I mean, you still have several games with him this season. So let's just enjoy him. I think you got an extra year, whether it be for COVID or whatever. So let's just enjoy Taj while we have him this year. That's what I'll say. And plus, I like the young running backs. I do like Cam Dickey. He had a drop tonight, and I like Jacoby Williams. So they'll probably get some opportunities this year, probably in some big situations, to be honest. And let's see, how they do. But I think they're good players. Let's see. CJ Stark says, I know Macho is young, but holy, that dude is a liability. I can't wait for Lux to be back. Yeah, they're really missing him. And then, man, they had so many injuries tonight. I didn't even realize. I knew they didn't have Chapman Lewis for the whole second half and some of the end of the first half. I mean, I thought he was kind of like the captain of the secondary. He'd been playing really well, so that was a big loss. Jordan Sanford comes in. He hurts his hand. So you put in Joseph Plunk, who I like him. He's a tough player, but he's a walk-on. He gets hurt, so Jordan Sanford has to go back in there. Remember, he dropped that interception late in the fourth quarter, but McGuire said he had a half cast on, semi-cast on his hand, so that went into him. I don't want to make excuses, but I mean, come on, he hurt his hand. So Jalen Peoples didn't play tonight either. So you're really beat up in the secondary, just on defense in general. We talked about all this depth they had going into the season, and boy, it sure is being tested because you've lost a lot. You lost some really good players. I mean, Dylan Spencer before the season even started, Joseph Adedire. I mean, those are 2. They're not in the secondary, but they're outside linebackers that were expected to play big roles for your team this year. So, yeah, the defense is a mash unit right now. Let's be honest. Irvin says, then we learn to adapt. Sean, I don't know what that means. It's how every football team works. Okay. Kim Coulter says Arizona's up 23-10 on Utah right now. Dang. I mean, that's impressive. We'll see how they finish, but I mean, if they're capable of doing that, that's impressive. Met Puck 420 says, are they good? Well, they're scrappy, that's for sure. I think that's a really good point. And I think that's Because how do you quantify that? Well, you quantify how you overcome adversity. And this team was down 14-3 early. They came back. You can go back to ACU. I mean, what are we saying about this team if they lost that? And are you all even watching this? Let's be honest. If ACU had converted that 2-point conversion, so I'm not. This is not like a very good team. I think it's a good team. I think it's a good. I think what this team could be is a stepping stone for this program. I think it could be a 8 or 9 win team with this schedule. I do believe that, and I thought that I predicted 8-4 in the regular season before the season, and I still excuse me, think that's possible. I really do. So I think part of that's because they're scrappy. CJ Stark said it. Also, I know this is beating a dead horse, but when your receivers are dropping balls left and right, it's time to play Micah in a discussion. Don't like if he's going towards a red shirt. I don't like the drops, but the receiving core has played well. So overall, so I understand people want Micah to play. I want Micah to play. He missed spring. We had Dalton Rigdon, former receiver, on the Rockin' pregame radio show before the game today there at Red Ritter Outfitter across the street from the Jones on University, by the way. And he mentioned, hey, look, he's a true freshman. He missed spring. That's important. It's tough to miss spring and then go out there and play when you have veterans ahead of you. So I get what you're saying. I don't think the coaches are like keeping Micah out like some conspiracy. I think they think the other guys are better than him right now. Not more talented, but just they're older, more veteran, better players than him right now. And I mean, they're probably right, but Micah will get in there at some point. Jason Baumgardner says, great execution overall, great win. I'm curious why the running back catching out of the backfield has been the big play against us in 3 games now. Other teams have definitely seen that weakness for us. It has been a weakness. I'm not really sure. I don't know if it's the linebackers who, oh, by the way, overall had a really good game. Like I said, Ben Robertson, Jacob Rodriguez is really close there in terms of total tackles. He may have led the team in solo tackles tonight, and then he recovered that fumble that Ben forced. So overall, they played really well, but they have been burnt by running backs in coverage, and I don't know if it's just solely them. I have to really go down. I have to talk with Coach DeRuiter about it and like break down a lot of those plays. So I think it's a lot of guys being out of position and trying not to give it the deep ball in some cases. I think sometimes it's blitzing and they're beating linebackers man to man, but it is a weakness. I think you're right. Rat Kid 5679 says 1-score games the rest of the way. I mean, you're probably right. Excuse me. Joshua Parsons says Taj is the best total package running back in the country. I mean, I'm not going to argue against that. He's special. I mean, that's the bottom line. He's just a terrific player. I'm not going to pretend like I know Tajeh Brooks, but I've interviewed him I don't know how many times going back to when he was in high school through the recruiting process and all that. And he's always been a cool dude, man. And he's known around the program as being a kind of guy like they have to tell him, like, maybe you should sit this practice out. Just get some rest. I mean, you're going to get plenty of work during the season, and he'll fight it, He's known as like a professional in terms of taking care of his body, like always going in there and getting for treatment. He's the first one in there, that kind of deal. He's just a cool dude. I ran into his mom after the North Texas game, and she was really nice. That was cool. So seems to come from a really good family too. And I'm sorry about the coughing. I've been under the weather. I had two different bugs in the last week that kind of waylaid me. So I'm sorry for all the coughing and everything. I'll probably wrap this up relatively short, but got my ass kicked by a couple of bugs this week. So I'm trying here. But Taj is special. McGuire said he's, top running back in the country. I'm not surprised you said that. I don't think I would trade him for anybody in the country this year because he's the complete package. He's great. Kim Coulter says people ripping the O-line, but Taj had 172 yards. Barron wasn't sacked and rushed for 220. They're improving. Yeah, we'll have the day after podcast on Inside the Red Raiders where Mighty Joe and I were talking about it. But, you know, you got to say the offensive line is better this year. I mean, you just pointed it out. I mean, sometimes it doesn't always look pretty. Still too many penalties, though I don't know if they were penalized in the second half tonight. But, I mean, like you just laid it out there. 220 yards rushing. Barron wasn't sacked. Pretty good job by the offensive line tonight. Absolutely. I think Taj sometimes makes them look better in run blocking, but no, I think they are improving. CJ Stark says, I want to see more Jacoby Williams as a third down and distance back. I think you could check it down to him for a lot of first downs. You're right, but then you're taking Taj out of the game, and he's one of the best pass protecting running backs in the country. I mean, that's part of the whole package with Taj. So I get it. I want to see more Jacoby Williams too. I think he's really talented. I think he's going to be a really good player for Texas Tech. Third down back sounds good to me, but I think there's going to be. I don't know if Taj can't carry the ball 30 times a game. I don't think. Maybe he'll prove me wrong, but that seems like a lot of wear and tear for a whole season in Big 12 play. So maybe a series here or there. You put in Dickey and Williams, you know, or one or the other to give Taj a break. I can't stop coughing. Sorry. Oh, okay. But I would like to see them for sure. CJ Stark says, "Yeah, you want to see them healthy for the draft at the end of the day. I want to see them healthy for November. I mean, I hope the best for Taj. He's going to get a shot in the NFL, but no, I want him healthy for November. That's what I'm thinking, and maybe December, you know, for a bowl game or whatever. So, well, I know this is shorter than usual, but I'm coughing half the time, and it's late. Kim Coulter just pointed out Arizona's still up 23-10 and about to get the ball back with about 5 minutes to go. Yeah, Arizona's legit, and they're gonna have a lot of confidence coming off that. So, and they're gonna be playing at it. It's gonna be at Arizona. So, big challenge for Texas Tech. But for tonight, Red Raiders are 4-1 overall, 2-0 in the Big 12. You know, great start for the Red Raiders to the season. So, really appreciate y'all watching. Next week, I'm not going to promise it's going to be longer because it's going to be later, but we're going to have tons of content throughout the week talking about this win, previewing the game at Arizona. Thank you for watching, and until next time.